Locations. How about this location? Right, so connecting ribs to sternum, but the name of that is costal cartilage. Other names. Whoops. Well, it's still cartilage, so that works. So it's still hyaline. Other locations or names? How about, yeah, down here, bottom left and bottom right? Articular cartilage. So the location is covering the ends of long bones. It's called articular cartilage. How about the membrane around the hyaline cartilage right here? Up here as well. So what's the type? Dense, irregular connective tissue. The name? Someone up here said it. Perichondrium. Perichondrium, around the cartilage. So this is from the trachea, the blue, which is down here. Hyaline. The epithelium at the top. Ciliated, pseudostratified columna with goblet cells. And on the lab exam, you won't necessarily have a cartoon picture next to the image. That's too easy.
Of course it is.
Sure.
Radicular.
Elastic cartilage. So it looks like hyaline, but with the addition of fibers. A little more cellular as well. Locations. Ear, epiglottis. Nasal cartilage is hyaline. This one? Still elastic. And this tissue on either side? Dense irregular, perichondria. This one? Fibrocartilage. More fibrocartilage. Locations found. Intervertebral discs. Menisci of the knees. Pubic symphysis. Those are the simplest of all organs. There's 3 of them. What are they called?
Cutaneous.
How about this one? Mucous membrane down here. Serous membrane. Serous membrane.
Cutaneous.
Cutaneous membrane. The name of this serous membrane here.
And
then on the sides. Pleura. And over here.
Where?
Peritoneum. This?
Lamellar corpuscle.
Pacinian or lamellated. Function. Pressure receptor. This yellow fiber here. Sensory or motor?
Motor.
Motor nerve ending. And it's innervating
Erectophilia.
Function of erectophilia.
Secretion.
How about a function that's useful for humans? Standing up, our hair doesn't do anything.
The secretion.
Squeezes sebum out of the sebaceous oil glands. How about this yellow fiber that's going up to the dermal papilla
Free.
and branching? Free nerve ending, sensory or motor?
Sensory.
Sensory functions.
Pain and temperature.
Pain or temperature. This hole at the surface of the skin here.
Sweat pore.
Sweat pore. And this gland.
Eccrine sweat gland.
Eccrine sweat gland. Function.
Thermoregulation.
Not sweat. Thermoregulation. Because then I'd say sweat for. This little tissue at the bottom of the hair follicle.
Hair bulb.
It is areolar. What's the name? Hair papilla. And then what do you find in it? The red and blue there? Capillaries. And what's the very first layer of epithelial cells around the hair papilla? A single layer of cells around the papilla. Hair matrix.
Hair matrix.
Right?
What was the question? How did you find?
The single layer of epithelial cells, what are they?
Oh.
So if you have your little papilla, that first layer of cells, that's hair matrix, and then some of those cells are really big, and those ones are melanocytes. And then how about the center region of the hair?
Dura.
And then the thicker outer region, cortex, and the very thin outermost, cuticle. Yep. This gland,
Sebaceous oil
name
gland.
of secretion,
Sebum.
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 Name of secretion, sebum. Thin or thick skin?
Thin.
How do you know?
He has hair.
This layer here,
Hypodermis.
type of tissue, adipose. This layer,
Dermis.
dermis. Yeah. How about the white? Fascia.
Fascia. Deep fascia.
This little structure here, sweat gland. There's another one over here, here. This tissue here, adipose, here, adipose.
Adipose.
And notice there's a little dense irregular around it. Collectively, what do you call this whole layer? What's the name of all of them?
Reticular.
It's mainly adipose.
Oh, hypodermis.
Subcutaneous fat, even superficial fascia. Yeah, this is a really big section here. So the skin is way up here. The papillary layer, the reticular layer of the dermis, most of this is hypodermis. How about down here? That is reticular layer of dermis. How about this white up here? For which gland? Eccrine.
Eccrine.
Sweat gland. Can't be sebaceous, can't be apocrine, because they both secrete into the hair follicle. So only eccrine has a pore at the surface of the skin. On the right, thin or thick?
Thin.
Thin. Right? Granulosum is way up here. The layers above are very few and thin. Thin or thick on the left?
Thin.
Thin, right? Granulosum, the dark band here. And granulosum on the right, also thin. This layer?
Spinosa.
Stratospinosus.
Thick.
Thick. Thick in both. This layer,
Granulosum.
just above.
Lucidum.
Above that,
Corneum.
the bumps, epidermal ridges or friction ridges. Layer of cells, single layer of cells. Stratum basal or germinativa. the big cells that have a lot of white around the nucleus. Melanocytes. Function.
Produce melanin.
Produce melanin for UV protection. This cell here.
Dendritic.
Langerhans or epidermal dendritic cell. The blue.
Tactile.
Peripheral or tactile cell. The gray.
Melanocytes.
Melanocyte. Covered all of that. This layer here. Stratum granulosum. Name of the granules. Lamellated. Keratohydrate. Which one has the lipids for water resistance?
Laminated.
The white.
Lucidum.
And the white again on the right.
Lucidum.
In both cases, lucidum. These little open spaces, that's what the arrows are pointing to. Capillaries, capillary loops, found inside a little projection of tissue called a dermal papilla. Here, the kind of white, almost clear layer, stratum corneum. So this red is lucidum, and then the really dark granulosum. This structure in the dermal papilla, Meissner's corpuscle. Tactile corpuscle works as well. And this little structure up here, and here's another one.
Masoners.
Meissner's corpuscle or tactile corpuscle. Tissue here. It's from the dermis. There's your hint. Capillary layer.
Reticular.
Down below. Reticular layer. So those are the bundles of collagen fibers. More capillaries in the dermal papilla or Meissner's corpuscles. This receptor here, Chinian or lamellated corpuscle. You can see how it's layered. Gland,
Sebaceous.
sebaceous oil gland. Structural class for sebaceous oil gland.
Simple branched. Alveolar.
Simple branch alveoli. On the left here, it's not mentioned in the book, but you do have sebaceous follicles. And the difference is a sebaceous follicle does have a duct that goes to the surface of the skin, whereas the sebaceous gland secretes into the hair follicle. On the bottom left, thin or thick skin?
Thin.
How do you know?
Hair.
Here and here, apocrine or eccrine?
Eccrine.
Eccrine. There was apocrine, that
But
white,
bigger.
that lumen would be huge. Same thing over here. And the duct that goes to the surface of the thick skin, which gland?
Sweat.
Eccrine.
Eccrine.
Cross section right here. Big lumen.
Apocrine. Apocrine.
Apocrine sweat gland. Yeah. Secretes into the hair follicle. Huge lumen. You can see that on the far left. So on the right, is this eccrine or apocrine? Eccrine. How can you tell?
The lumen is small.
Lumen is
Lumen.
small. Hair.
This layer?
External.
External epithelial root sheath.
Root shoot.
The dark blue band,
Glassy.
glassy membrane, which is a type of basement membrane. This muscle tissue here, rector pili muscle, and then the gland,
Sebaceous.
So you can see how the sebaceous gland is wedged between the hair and the erector pili. How about this white layer on the outside, that white ring? Cuticle. The very, very middle, medulla.
Medulla.
Just outside the cuticle here,
Cortex.
internal epithelial root tissue. And this tissue on the outside, connective tissue root sheath. And this tissue in the middle here,
Papillary.
hair papilla. And the layer of cells above it,
Matrix.
hair matrix. And these big cells,
Melanocytes.
melanocytes. And the dark pigment here, melanin from the melanocytes. How about this blue line? It's a pretty thin band, yep. You got it. Glassy membrane. Oh, the epithelial root sheath, this would be internal. That's external. So then there's the glassy. And then to the right is all connective tissue. This ridge of skin, proximal nail folds on the sides, lateral nail folds, this pale region,
Lucum.
luneal, this part of the nail, bed, nail
Body.
or plate. Body or plate, and then over here.
Free edge of the
And the
nail.
tissue attached to the underside of the free edge. Hypunkium or
Hypunkium.
hyponychium.
Hypunkium.
Real term for cuticle. Epunkium.
Hypunkium.
EPO.
No spell check.
NYCHIUS.
Or what's the
High punk the pink here,
Nail bed.
nail bed. And back here, nail matrix. This tissue right here,
Hypunkium.
hypunkium. And this arrow, this tissue right here, epunkium. Yay.
Is this how it's gonna be?